In this chapter, we're in and around the area of Kaf Aleph, Kaf Bet, Kaf Gimel. We'll see the last 15 psukim or so, or 18 psukim or so, until the end of the chapter. For those that are just joining us, we want to understand the following. David HaMelech is beginning to pay a price, a very high price, for his not straight way of acquiring Bathsheba. Halachically, everything was done fine. However, morally, for someone on a level of a king, he did not do the right thing. The fact that he married her afterwards is fine. The fact that he has a second baby born after the first one died, Hashem loves the baby and calls the baby a name, Yedidiah. Hashem calls Yedidiah, where David calls the baby Shlomo. Now, after Natan comes and decrees that David will pay a very heavy price of punishment, of affliction, we're now beginning to learn the affliction inside his home. We're learning about a sword inside his home. We're learning about the death of a child already. Some say the death of the first baby is already the beginning of the punishment. And now Amnon is killed, as we're learning at the end of yesterday's shur, by Avshalom. Here, something also not straight happens, and that is Amnon rapes his sister called Tamar. Although halachically she's not the sister, sometimes you get free rides here. Okay? It's mazal that he doesn't weigh a lot of kilos, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that. Do you weigh 40 or 50 kilos? 50. That's what I thought. Listen, come to the barbecue tomorrow night, eat some flesh, eat some meat, put some meat on your skin. Listen, David is now beginning to pay the price. This man, his son, who's a Bechor to his first wife, called Amnon, is sick. He gets terrible advice. He basically rapes her. He acts like a monster. He doesn't want to look at her anymore. He releases her. Who keeps quiet? David. Why? He can't open up his mouth. He himself didn't do the most honest thing by taking Bathsheba. Again, halachically, he didn't transgress Gilui Arayot. We know that. He can't open up his mouth. Someone, though, is very smart. The brother of Mrs. What's her name? Tamar. And that the brother is Avshalom. Avshalom doesn't speak about this matter whatsoever. 2 years pass. And then he has a plan. It's the time of summertime, apparently. The time of the shearing, taking off the wool of the goats, of the lambs. He's in an area in the Binyamin Ephraim area, Bal Chatzor, just a few kilometers away from Givat Asaf, Beit El, Ofra. And he has a plan. I'm going to invite my father, a big ceremony of shearing off the hairs, and of course we'll give the first of it to a Kohen, Reshit Hagez. But David says, I can't come. David gives two reasons. One, look, if I come, a whole escort cars, security, a lot of people, you don't need a headache. And number two, after even he pleads with him to come, he says, I don't want to come. All this apparently is planned out. Why? Avshalom says, let's read it in Pasuk Kava, verse 26. Vayomer Avshalom v'lo. If you can't come, Yelech na itanu Amnon achi. Maybe you'll have a replacement. Who? Amnon. Can Amnon be considered a replacement for the king's lack of presence? Of course not. So why is he inviting him? Remember, he's the Bechor. Exactly. Since Amnon is the Bechor, in other words, in the future, who might be the next king? Amnon. That klapei chutz, on the outside, is an excuse to invite Amnon. Now, David is not stupid. David knows that Amnon and Avshalom are not getting along. And he knows that Avshalom is not even talking to Amnon for the last 2 years. Okay? David knows that they're not getting along together. So why does David agree? Pasuk Kavav, that we just read. Vayomer lo HaMelech, lama yelech imach? Why should he go? David is saying the truth. And then, what do we see? In Pasuk Kav Zayin, verse 27, Vayifrotz bo Avshalom. Come on, let him come, come on. He puts pressure on him, and David agrees. What? He agrees? Why would he agree? Let's read the second half of the Pasuk. Vayishlach ito et Amnon, v'eit kol bnei HaMelech. Could the second half of this Pasuk be the reason why strategically David agrees? In chapter 13, okay? Why does David agree? Who is he sending together with Amnon? All the brothers. Kol bnei HaMelech. What is David's logic? Avshalom will not do anything harmful to who? To Amnon, if he's in the presence of everyone else. Okay? He won't hurt him. That's what's written. V'kol bnei HaMelech. Sounds good. And this is quite a trip. From Yerushalayim to Bal Chatzor, we're talking about between 25 and 30 kilometers. That's several hours of traveling. Okay? They arrive. Pasuk Kavchet. Open up a Tanakh. Vayitzav Avshalom et ne'arav le'mor re'una. Here is the plan. What is the plan? Everyone's arrived. And now Avshalom is giving orders. And here we're going to see how smart he is. You're not going to bribe us. You're not going to bribe us with Bisley. Okay, we only want Bamba.
This Bamba.
That's Bisley. It may not be kosher. Don't eat it. Vayitzav Avshalom et narav le'mor re'una. Kitov lev Amnon bayayin. V'amarti alechem haku et Amnon. V'amitem oto al tira'u. Hello. Ki anochi tziviti etchem chizku v'yu livnei chayu. Gentlemen, Avshalom is very crude and he's very strategic. Avshalom has his own servants. Avshalom is the son of a king. He's probably a wealthy person. He has a lot of sheep. But remember, we once learned in southern Hebron mountains when David was meeting with Navala Karmali, a very wealthy man. When it's coming summertime and you have a lot of sheep and you are you're giving them haircuts, taking off, that's a lot of wool. A wool is for clothing. Wool is for carpets. Okay? Wool is for a lot of textiles. You're going to be making a lot of money. Avshalom it's a happy time. Apparently, in this mitzvah of taking off the hair and giving some to the Kohen, they have some Beit El mountain wines here. Okay? You thought they only just started making wine now. I know they started making wine already. More than about 3,000 years ago. And you know what? Maybe Amnon will be a happy time. He's together with all the family. Maybe he'll have a few l'chaims and he'll drink several cups of wine. And if he drinks several cups of wine, you see that over there? See, when you're not on guard, you're vulnerable. Want to do it again? You see over there? No, I'm just joking. Okay. So if Amnon drinks a few cups of wine, he might be off guard. That is the plan of Avshalom. Who's going to be pouring the wine? His servants. And then I'm going to tell you, when he's off guard, hit him. Don't be afraid. Why? Haloki anochi tziviti etchem. Wow. It seems here clearly Avshalom is ruthless. Avshalom is powerful. Avshalom wants revenge. For what was done with his sister, Tamar, he wants revenge. He's been planning this out for 2 years. He purposely was quiet, so he shouldn't arouse the awareness of security people, of his father. And here his father thought, no, he's not going to do anything while everyone is here together. But why does he say the last words of the pasuk? Chizku v'yu livnei chayil. Why does he say that? Why is there a need to do that? Would you listen to your master to kill someone? You're not a Sanhedrin, you're not a court, you're not the police. The servants of Avshalom are told, murder Amnon. Wow, you have to have a lot of gall, even if Avshalom is your master. So maybe Avshalom knows the difficulty, and he knows that they might be reluctant to execute this report, execute this order. And here we see Avshalom is a man of influence. Avshalom has the ability to be charismatic, give orders, and convince others to do things that shouldn't be done. So, therefore, give them be strong. Be b'nei chayil, be man of valor. Do it. Don't worry. Pasuk Kaftet, verse 29, follow. Vayasu narei Avshalom lamnon, kasher tziva Avshalom. They fulfill the order. Who kills Amnon? The servants of, and not the other brothers. Is it clear to you? It says, Na'arei Avshalom are doing it. And once they do that, all the brothers present here at this ceremony, what do? Vayakumu kol b'nei HaMelech. They get up. Vayirkivu ish al pirdo. Everyone gets on their, what was it, an Audi? A Cadillac? A parrot. What is a parrot? A mule. What is a mule? A mule is a cross between a male donkey and a female horse. Okay? Is that permitted? It's not. What is that called? What? Kilayim. Kilei behema. Kilei harba. You're not allowed to crossbreed. So, apparently, these pradim are the products of a violation. However, some of you may have learned there's no isur to be mikayim, the kilayim. There's no prohibition to maintain the results of this forbidden breeding. You see the guy sitting to your right? Don't just look. He the other day was eating, I'm telling you the truth, a nectarine. Yeah, this guy with the kippah on. Do you know what a nectarine is a cross of? Not an apricot. A plum? Shazif. It's a peach and a plum. Yeah, you. Don't deny it. We all watched you. You didn't offer us any of that. So the matter is that the isur is the planting. But there's no isur to be mekayim. You're allowed to maintain it. You're allowed to eat it. Okay? So they have these strong mules. They get on their mules. And now what are they doing? Vayanusu. They flee the area. Why are they fleeing? They're afraid. What are they afraid of?
Maybe the Avshalom.
Who knows what Avshalom might do right now? So there's a balagan here in this town. Murder is done. David has more problems now on his hand. And they don't want to have a part of it, the brothers, and they flee. What rumor travels to Yerushalayim? Pasuk Lamed. Vayi, heima vaderech. The sons are on the road going south to Yerushalayim. Vashmua va el David lemor. A rumor arrives to Yerushalayim. What is the rumor? Hika Avshalom et kol bnei hamelech v'lo natar mehem echad. The rumor is David lost all his children. All his children were murdered. Who do you think passed on this terrible rumor? That God forbid, if the news gets to David, how do you know mentally, emotionally, how does he react when he hears such terrible news? Who do you think passed on this rumor? I mean, it's a legal rumor. It's gone. It's traveled. It's arrived to Yerushalayim. Who do you think passed this on, and why?
Servants of Amnon.
Servants of Amnon, you're thinking.
They are seeking for revenge from David and
Maybe. Any other idea?
the general.
The servants of who?
The main general.
Why would he be interested in causing problems? By the way, Yoav is a cousin. Why? He's a nephew. Why would he be interested? Could it be that the same people that murdered Amnon, they're the ones that are passing the rumor that all the sons of David have been killed? And why? Why would that be strategic? What is Avshalom interested in causing by the king? If the king hears that all his kids were murdered, including Amnon, terrible, tragedy, and then the rumor is nullified, negated, and then he finds out that only one was killed, and that is who? Amnon. How do you feel? Released, relaxed, relieved. I'm sure he'll be in mourning, but the pain will be less pain if he hears that what? That only Amnon was killed. That's what the Me'am Lo'ez brings, apparently a midrashic source, that this was the strategy of Avshalom and his servants, that he wants to scare the king, that all his kids were killed, and by doing so, the pain of Amnon being killed will be weakened. Indeed, Pasuk Lamed Aleph, verse 31, Vayakom HaMelech, Vayikrat begadav, Vayishkav arza, V'chol avadav nitzavim, Kruei vegadim. The Gemara brings several halachot here from this Pasuk. Number one, God forbid, when we hear about a loss of one of our relatives that we have to mourn for, and we do kriyah, the renting of our garment, we do it standing up, and it's learned from here. Why? Because David was first sitting, and then when he heard the bad news, what did he do? Vayakom, he got up, and then he tore his garment. So from here we learn that kriyah, renting the garment, is done standing up. That's point number one. Point number two, what does he do immediately after tearing his garment? Vayishkav arza. He's not sitting. He's lying on the ground, which is clearly a sign of what? Mourning. Sitting in Shiva, right? You've heard of that term? Okay? He not only is sitting, but he's lying down. Now, at the same time he's lying down, his servants are what? They're lying down?
They tore their garments.
They tore their garments, okay? But they're standing up. They stand up. Why are they standing up? Are they supposed to be sitting in Shiva in 7 days of mourning? Why not? They're not relatives. But they rented the garment. To hear bad news, they rented their garment. So why are they standing up? Very simple. The laws of honoring the king. The king is lying in front of them. He's the king of Israel. You don't sit nonchalantly on a chair, on a beach chair, on a comfortable couch or sofa when the king is in front of you. Doesn't matter if the king is standing up, sitting down, or lying down. We have what's called Kvod HaMelech. Rambam brings it. Laws are learned, the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin. We have the laws of honoring the king. So the servants, what do they have to do? Keep standing up. Now, let's hear about the Chacham. Do you remember it was called the Chacham at the beginning of the chapter? Who is Amnon's friend? Yonadav. He happens to be the son of David's brother Shim'ah. Okay? And Yonadav, we're told, is Ish Chacham Me'od. There are two ways to understand, we saw it, two ways to understand Ish Chacham Me'od, either positively or negatively. And we went with the Malbim's explanation that he's a wicked person, he's not acting well, and he's giving terrible advice to his best friend, Amnon, which caused Amnon basically to rape Miss Tamar. Now he appears on the scene again. Pasuk Lamed Hey 35. I'm sorry, not Lamed Hey. Where are we up to? Lamed Bet. Vayan Yonadav ben Shema chi David. He apparently gives a response. Maybe he was asked a question. Okay? He's now involving himself. And he says to David the following. Remember, David is assuming the rumor that arrives is true. All of his sons were killed. What does Yonadav say? Vayomer. Al yomar Adoni et kol ha'ne'arim b'nei hamelech imitu. Don't accept it. Don't think it's true. Don't say that all your children were killed by the Na'arim of Avshalom. No, don't at all. Don't think that Avshalom had all your sons killed. Why? Doesn't say why. Ki al pi Avshalom haita, next word, suma, miyom anoto et Tamar achoto. Yonadav knows what the befalling of his friend Amnon, that he took his advice and he raped her, and then now he's probably killed. So Yonatan here involves himself in reasons. It's not true. It doesn't make sense that Avshalom killed all the sons of the king. He only killed Amnon. Why? Suma. Suma is an evaluation. Suma is an estimation. That Amnon was killed. Okay? Why? Because Mr. Avshalom has been plotting from the day that Miss Tamar was afflicted, raped. Ever since then Avshalom has been keeping his hatred inside him, and he's been wanting to do things. So he's been trapping him, he's like ambushing him. And he repeats himself to a certain extent in Lamed Gimel. V'ata, and now, Al Yasem Adoni HaMelech Libo. Don't take it to heart that all your kids were killed. Davar Leimor. This decree called Bnei HaMelech Meitu. Ki im Amnon levado meit. It's not so clear to me. Why is there like repetition here in Pasuk Lamed Gimel? But he's basically saying, the Malbim says that don't think that all the sons were able to stand guard and protect Amnon. They couldn't do it. What are you thinking? That they wanted to protect Amnon, and then they went out and killed them, and there's like a civil war going on here between the brothers and those that killed Amnon? No, don't think. It's only Amnon that died by himself. Now, my dear friends, why is Yonadav involving himself? Why should he be involved here in these matters at all? Okay? Does he have a connection, a relationship to this matter? We remember that he gave terrible advice to Amnon that led to the raping of Tamar. And it could be that Yonadav has some plan that maybe he wants to do bad against David, perhaps, who knows? And he tries to give him the advice, don't worry, don't think that Mr. Avshalom had everyone else killed. He's telling the truth. I mean, he's reasoning the truth. And now he wants to do tshuva. He wants to help him out. It could be. It could be. And that's related to what you said, David. My dear friends, what's happening in the meantime? Pasuk Lamed Daled, Vayivrach Avshalom, Vayisa nara tzofet einav vayar. V'hinei amrav holchim miderech acharav mitzad ahar. This, there's no doubt that some of you are saying sound logic that Yonadav wants to calm down David and not be excited and alarmed that all his children are killed. But from the moment this event happens and the sons are running home to David, who's in trouble? Avshalom is in trouble. When you're in trouble and your father is the king, if you stay tight and you stay where you are, the police, the army, someone's going to be catching you. Therefore, right now, Avshalom is an opportunist. He takes this time and this time right now, and he starts to go where? He starts to escape. At the same time that he's escaping, where are the sons arriving from? Okay? I'm asking all of you. If you're the sons, you just left Ofra, Bal Chatzor area, you're going south to Yerushalayim. If you had people watching you with telescopes, you would be seeing arriving from which side? From the south. From the north, going to Yerushalayim. From the north, going to Yerushalayim. And here at the watchtower, there's some sort of migdal there. There's a na'ar watching. He's a tzofeh. He's a spectator. He's guarding. And he's watching and looking for people arriving from the north. Or maybe even from where? Acharav, from the back, from the west. Okay? Remember, the directions in the Tanakh are like the way I'm sitting right now. Facing east, back, facing west, south is Yamin, to the right, that's south, and that is the north. Right now there's expectation that if people are coming back from this murder, they're going to be coming back from the north. Not from the north, a little from the west to go into Yerushalayim. But apparently everyone is coming from different directions because people are scared. The sons are scared, maybe they're next in line. Okay, and everyone maybe has fear of Avshalom, that maybe Avshalom is still running after them to kill them. And once they hear that Avshalom is fleeing, the coast is clear. And they all appear now on the scene. They come into Yerushalayim. And now the rumor can be negated. Pasuk Lamed Hey. Vayomer Yonadav el HaMelech Hinei. Look, I'm right. V'nei HaMelech Bao. The sons of the king have arrived. In other words, Yonadav, who's smart, but he used his chokhmah, his wisdom, for bad things regarding advice to his friend. He's now explaining what is this assembly of people coming into Yerushalayim. He's explaining that when the watchtower guy says, Am Rav, a lot of people are arriving saying, these are probably the sons of the king. And now they are arriving. What is the reaction of David? Pasuk. Let's just finish reading Lamed Hey. Like I told you, it's true. He says it out of humility. Pasuk Lamed Hey, Lamed Vav 36. The reaction of David. Once Yonatan finishes speaking. Okay? V'hinei, surprise. V'nei HaMelech Bo. It's true. The sons of the king have arrived. Look at the honor, HaMelech, HaMelech. All the time we see the name HaMelech. The sons of the king arrive. Vayisu kulam vayifku. They raise their voices in crying, and they cry. V'gam HaMelech v'chol avadav bachu b'chi gadol me'od. The obvious question everyone's asking, why are they crying?
Maybe because they thought that everyone dies, and now it proves that they are alive, and they're crying for joy.
Oh, they're crying for joy. It seems though that there's sadness over here.
They cry because brothers died.
Oh, they now make a mathematical computation. I was told that tens of my sons are dead. And now you see they're all alive except for one. That's what apparently David understands, and what Yonadav said. And Avshalom ambushed, trapped Amnon and killed him. And now, all of you are right. It could be a sigh of relief, but the Tanakh doesn't share that with us. And in fact, the crying is Bechi Gadol Me'od. 3 words used here in Lamed Vav. Okay? David now knows the entire situation. Everyone's back except for 2 sons, Amnon and Avshalom. Okay? Now, it could very well be David knows that Avshalom is on his way out of the country, taking the first plane to Jordan. Okay? Number 2, after David hears this, now the rumor is false and the words of Yonadav are true, and that's maybe what David basically is crying about. Bechi Gadol Me'od. Now we come to the last 3 psukim of the chapter, Lamed Zayin, Lamed Chet, Lamed Tet. I want to stop before and ask you the following question. Some of you remember when David heard the news that the baby that was born to he and Bathsheba that died. When David heard about the passing away of the baby, what was the reaction? He got up off of the floor, changed his clothing, and he went to have a good meal. And here, what is he reacting?
It's like more than maybe 3
He's
years.
mourning. He's on the floor. No. And here, how is he reacting? With mourning, crying. He was on the floor a moment ago, we learned. So why do we see here Bechi Gadol Me'od, a great amount of crying, whereas there, when the baby of Bathsheba and David passed away, we saw something different? Can any one of you draw that there's a big difference between the 2?
Because he didn't know the baby. He didn't see the baby.
He had very little relationship with his newborn baby.
Yeah, just expecting. The other one he knew for 30 years.
Oh, so you're saying that's one of the answers the Abarbanel brings from Spain. Okay? The Abarbanel says you can't compare a mourning about a newborn baby to a mourning of an adult son. Okay? Not only is Amnon the adult son, but he's the Bechor. He's the firstborn. He could be the next one in line to be the king of Israel. He's special. So that's one major difference. Another difference?
Maybe because it's like a reflection when he said that when Nathan told the prophet told the story, he said that the person should die. So now it's like he dies and he still knows what he did.
In other words, you also bringing an answer of the Abarbanel from Spain. Okay? The Abarbanel says also, on the passing away of the baby of Bathsheba, David already knew that in advance by the Navi, by Natan Navi. Very good. Anyone give another answer of the Abarbanel? He gives 3 answers.
I don't know, maybe David felt a sense of guiltiness because he also made the same thing, so wasn't able to give a Musa lesson to his sons, and because of this, his son was killed by the son.
Maybe. Can anyone pinpoint why here, Bechi Gadol Me'od? Why he's crying like he never cried in his life. Why? How was Amnon killed?
By his own brother.
By his own brother. There's probably nothing more painful. God forbid. We should never.
Also, he knows what ramification this has. Like he has to get his son Avshalom and has to do justice with him as well.
That's right.
That is
The pain of a brother killing a brother is terrible. And now David adds, justice is going to have to be brought. Although until now, we've seen David shave ve'al ta'aseh. He's not doing. So here we have 3 answers that explain very well why David is crying very much here, as opposed to the time of the baby of Bathsheba. Let's finish the perek, Lamed Zayin. V'Avshalom barach. Where does he go to? Vayelech el Talmai ben Amichor, or Amihud, Melech Geshur, Vayitabel al beno kol hayamim. Some say Geshur, the king of Geshur, is the southern Golan Heights of today. And Talmai, Mr. Talmai, the king, he's the father of the mother of Avshalom. When we learned the beginning of the parak, we explained, Chazal say that David, in a war, took an Eshet Yefat Toar, a beautiful looking woman of one of the Gentile nations, had relations with her, halachically permitted. The Torah addressed the Yetzer Hara of a person during the time of war. Who was born out of that relationship? Tamar. Tamar went through a giur, just like the mother did. He took her in marriage then. David took Talmai's mother in marriage, after giur apparently. And then who was born? Avshalom. Avshalom was always called in this chapter the brother of Tamar. He's protective. He's watching over her. Watching over her. And it now makes sense that if Avshalom's looking for political asylum, political shelter, the best place to find it is from the place where he's born from. So he goes to a nation in the southern Golan Mountains. Okay, Talmai is the king, the father of his mother. His mother was called Ma'acha, the daughter of Talmai. And that's where he goes. What does David do when Avshalom is in political asylum? Vayitabel al beno kol hayamim. Now look, there's a problem here. King Solomon writes in Mishlei that Hashem purposely gave us a gift called forgetting. Do you remember my name? Oh, you do? You didn't forget my name? Did you forget my name? God forbid when we're in mourning. Okay, when we're in mourning, God forbid, there are different levels of avelut. The first day is the most difficult day. And then it goes down. 7 days is a hard period, but not like the first day, right? Then the mourning of 30 days is still difficult, but not like the Shiva Yamim, and not like the first day. And then the recitation of Kaddish, of a parent, of a mother, a father, Lolena passes away for 11 months, but 12 months of mourning. What happens after 12 months of mourning? It dissipates. It's something natural that God created in man that we begin to forget. The distance of time has an impact on our heart and our soul. And this King Solomon writes as a bracha. He says there's a time to mourn, wow, and there's a time to be happy. And when mourning ends, we're supposed to program ourselves together with nature that's it. Stop being sad. It's not healthy. And Hashem helps us by forgetting the beloved, the one that passed away. Here, it says, Vayitabel al beno yamim rabim. Kol hayamim. What is kol hayamim? Read the next pasuk. V'Avshalom barach vayelech Geshur vayisham shalosh shanim. Wow. Apparently David is in mourning for Amnon, such a long period. And you know what? You know who doesn't come home after 1 year? Why not? Why? Why is he afraid? Because David is still what? in Avelut for his son, even though what? More than 1 year's passed. 2 years have passed. And now a third year. David is going through affliction. David is paying the price of what he did, not in an honest way with Bathsheba. And he's paying a very heavy price. The king of Israel, to be in mourning such a long time, it's unheard of. So this is, what, sir? Look into the end, Pasuk Lamed Chet. The end of Lamed Chet. Vayisham Shalosh Shanim. The reason, apparently, why Avshalom remains 3 years is because that's what David is still feeling. He's still in mourning. And like you said, he's going to do justice to Avshalom. So Avshalom already doesn't come back home. He's living in Galut.
Why did Absalom run away?
Afraid of justice. Because he killed Amnon, obviously.
Why didn't David
This is
send?
after
What?
Why didn't David send messengers to kill him?
This is after Absalom.
Good
tried to
question.
kill him.
This is a good question. Here is his question. Why doesn't David right now, he has an army.
He could do that. Actually.
It's in his hands. We're seeing maybe that David is what we're doing. We're calling Kabbalat Din. He's accepting judgment. Accepting judgment means being afflicted and not trying to. How to be relieved from the affliction. David is teaching us the world of tshuva. David is teaching us the world of tshuva. The very fact that when the prophet rebuked him, reprimanded him, and he said, Chatati LaHashem, I sinned to God. We see the big difference, Chazal say this, between David and Shaul. What does the Gemara say? Shaul b'shtayim ve'alalo, David be'echad ve'lo alalo. If I remember correctly, the Gemara points out in comparing Shaul to David. Shaul made 2 great mistakes. And Chazal explained he didn't admit to it. He tried to put it, we didn't kill a Gog because they told me that not to kill a Gog. They wanted to do this or do that. Or I was under pressure to go to war. Shaul made 2 mistakes and he didn't come forth and said, Chatati, I sinned. He didn't do that. David, on the other hand, made this mistake and he immediately does tshuva. He immediately does vidoy, he confesses. David is teaching us what tshuva is about. It could be that he made these mess ups to teach us tshuva, and he's accepting the din. Maybe that's the answer to your question, Michael, that he doesn't want to do judgment. He's accepting the din. My dear friends, Avshalom, in what type of city is he living in? Ken? If we read, the pasuk in Sefer Divrei Yamim, where it summarizes this, it's saying that he's inside the city of Geshur, and he closed up himself inside a city with a wall, doors, gates, and locks. In other words, he's in a very big defensive place. Maybe that's a strategic defensive reason that David doesn't attack, because he's enclosed inside a defensive city. Maybe. Let's read the end of the chapter. Vatichal David HaMelech Latzeit El Avshalom Ki nicham al Amnon Ki meit. Vatichal David HaMelech. It's a hard verb to understand. Usually we see the word vayichal, vatichal, we think of vayichulu hashamayim ve'aretz. Heaven and earth were completed. But I'm looking at the Targum of Yonatan ben Uziel. You have in this here, the Targum?
No.
Okay. You don't have the Targum either? You have the Targum here? No. The Targum of Yonatan ben Uziel says, V'chameidat nafsha de David Malka lemipak al Avshalom. David, maybe we can say, ended his hatred, his will to do justice against Avshalom, and right now he very much wants to see Avshalom. He misses Avshalom. In other words, the Tanakh is sharing with us the emotions of longing. I long so much to see my son, Avshalom. He very much desires to see him to the extent that his nefesh is leaving him. He wants to see Avshalom. Why? It's enough. He's completed his mourning. That ended. He no longer wants to kill. He's mourned for 3 years, and that is enough. We don't know why 3. Tamar was killed. Tamar was raped. Avshalom killed his brother. He escapes. He continues to be there 3 years. David is mourning 3 years, and now we know that the ending of the mourning.
Doesn't 3 years mean 3 different people? Or
No.
no?
So my dear friends, Avshalom, look.
How can you mourn for so long?
It was so. We explained here that's unusual. You're right. We explained here that a brother kills a brother. It's even more painful. He couldn't get out of it. Okay, let me ask you something. Halachically, is Avshalom obligated for the murder of his brother? Yes or no?
Could David be very sad because he knew that Absalom should be killed, so he would lose 2 sons?
Let me ask you a question. Was there a warning by 2 witnesses?
He wasn't born.
But if you're the king of Israel, what privilege do you have? You can punish unlike the law. There's no doubt that who gave the order? Who gave the order to have him killed? Avshalom gave the order.
You can do judgment. It's not above the law.
Yeah, of course.
All of this is because Avshalom wants to protect his sister Tamar. Okay? Now, there's no edut. Halacha doesn't justify that if your sister is raped, you go ahead and kill the person that rapes. And therefore, it's a very, very difficult situation. What will happen? Avshalom's going to come back. David wants to embrace his son. There's a likelihood he's not going to what? He's not going to take the law and kill him because he feels maybe this is the din, the punishment that he's been getting. And this is how the chapter ends. He's sorry. He's not willing to kill Avshalom. Avshalom now is on the way back. If we would go ahead and summarize this chapter, one of my teachers, Rav Yigal Ariel. Rav Yigal? Ken, Rav Yigal. There are the 3 brothers. There's Rav Yisrael Ariel, the head of the Machon Meir. There's a Dayan in Tzfat, that is Rav Yoezer, right? And Rav Yigal, yeah. Rav Yigal, one of the great Tanakh teachers. No. Rav Yaakov Ariel is the president of the Yeshiva of Ramat Gan. He was the chief rabbi of Ramat Gan for decades. That's 4 brothers. Ariel, Rav Yisrael, Rav Yaakov, Rav Yoezer, and Rav Yigal. 4 big scholars in the national religious yeshiva world. Rav Yigal was the rabbi of Nov, a town in the Ramat Golan, named after the Nov, where the Mishkan, the Mizbech was brought to. If we look at Amnon as one of the characters of this chapter, remember, he thought he loved Tamar, and Tamar, of course, we knew was what? Was not his halachic sister. He could have married her, because she was the daughter of an Eshet Yafat Toar. And she was born out of the relation between David and that queen, that princess of Melech Yeshur. Amnon could have married her, and there was no reason to become sick and then rape her and do this. Maybe he didn't want to pay the cost or the price of Kiddushin and live a life of obligation. Marriage, when we say marriage is love, love is giving. But someone that just wants to take, that's not real love. And maybe he just wanted to what? Fill his physical desires to be with her. He thought like King Solomon says in Mishlei chapter 9, Maim Ginuvim Yimtaku. Stolen waters can be sweetened, but you're not going to sweeten stolen waters. He had relations with her. He hated her. He felt he did a terrible thing afterwards. He looked at her as like looking at himself like a monster, we said the day before, and so on and so forth. What we have here is a man who's full of yetzer, yitzriut. He's a man full of inclinations, both towards a woman and also towards maybe his brothers. And therefore he's a type of man that jumps on others, takes advantage of others. And therefore it's not a wonder that his ahava, quote unquote, turned into hatred, like we saw in the language of the chapter. And therefore, when we're learning about Amnon, we're learning about a person who has stormy emotions, stormy will, and a stormy yetzer hara, that he goes crooked and plays a trick according to the advice of Yonadav. And therefore, in the end, like Rav Soloveitchik writes in his book called Ala Tshuva, Amnon hates himself. He did this terrible thing. He can't stand himself. And therefore, how does he treat her? Throws her out of the house. Get out of here. And she doesn't deserve any attention because he can't stand what he did. His love is turned into hatred. That's character number one. Character number two, Yonadav, is characterized at the beginning of the chapter, Ish Chacham Me'od. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, which is what the Malbim relies on, says he's Chacham L'Ra'ah, to do evil. Chacham L'Ra'ah. Wisdom, of course, can bring a person to a higher level of closeness to God, but here, wisdom can be used for plotting, for conspiracy, for terrible things. And therefore, what was Yonadav's solution to Amnon, to his illness, that he's in bed right now and can't function because he wants to be with Tamar? Instead of really doing of the root good work with someone who's full of a yetzer hara, okay, what does he do instead? He ignites his yetzer hara. He gives him advice that Tamar should come visit, prepare pancakes or bread or food in front of him, and then deliver it to his hands. That's dealing with the yetzer hara of Amnon. You're supposed to starve him, metaphorically, not bring a woman in front of him. Okay? That's igniting his desire. Instead of saving him from his tavot, from his terrible yitzarim, he's giving him fire. He's igniting him with a match by having a woman to go in front of him. So that's what we see is using his wisdom for bad things. Yonadav is doing this. Okay? This is not an ethical advice, not whatsoever. And when Chazal say who is the Chacham, that you see what will come out of this will be the long-term effect. He didn't use the Chokhmah for this. The long-term effect is going to be terrible here on Mr. Amnon. Okay? So we have a klal, we have a rule. When someone has a yetzer hara, we starve the yetzer hara. We don't let it meet up with things that he's falling in. Okay? And therefore, the Gemara talks about these matters. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Sukkah, page 52. A person must starve his yetzer hara in situations. You must distance yourself from pritzut, from promiscuity, from nakedness, from all these things. And by doing so, you're going to be stronger. You're going to overcome. Let's skip and go now. Who is, quote unquote, the tzaddik of this chapter? Who's the star of this chapter? Who does it appear to be? Who is the one protecting his sister? Avshalom. David does not punish Amnon. And therefore, who goes into the role of protecting his sister? If my father's not going to protect my sister, then I will do it. It seems that Avshalom is zealous of the truth. He's zealous of the honor of his sister. And from now on, he devotes his energy, his mind, his idea to hating who? Avshalom hates Amnon. He wants to do revenge. And now a major part of his life is how will he plot to kill Amnon. All because David is not interfering. And now Avshalom is quiet for 2 years. Doesn't talk, doesn't express emotions, doesn't write any letters to the editor of the newspaper, goes on radio shows. He doesn't talk whatsoever. Avshalom and his personality, Rav Ariel writes, are very much influenced from what of this event happens. How can he plan? How can he plot to hit Amnon and finalize the matters? And therefore, Avshalom was a talented person, enlists his talents. He has, number one, patience. Okay? He's not a hot-headed Moroccan Jew or something like that, right? He's not hot-headed. He has savlanut, he has wisdom, and he's shrewd. Okay? He doesn't speak with Amnon. He doesn't show his cards. He doesn't reveal his plans. And you know what? Chazal taught us. Do you remember, sometimes when you see the negativity, you can also learn the positivity. Chazal taught us the praise of the tribes of Israel. Sometimes when you see the disgrace of Absalom, because he's hiding his plans, he's hiding his plotting, no one is suspecting him. Do you remember the brothers of Yosef? What the Torah says? What did the Torah says about the brothers of Yosef? They couldn't speak peace about Yosef. They only wanted to speak the bad about Yosef. Chazal say, wow, these guys are so true. They're not hiding their truth. Achei Yosef lo yochlu daber b'shalom, the Torah says. They spoke what's in their heart. They're not doing what Chazal say, echad b'peh v'echad b'leiv. One thing is in their hearts and another thing is in their mouth. Those are liars. Those are people that are putting up a front. They're hiding their personality. The brothers of Yosef said what they felt. They talked negatively about Yosef. Okay? What can it teach us? Avshalom is just the opposite. His personality is based on hatred. His personality is revenge. His personality is based upon plotting to kill his brother. That's a negative personality. Those are negative midot. Okay? There are things in life that are above and beyond revenge. There are things in life that are above and beyond your personal accounts. And you're part of the royal family. Maybe it's meant from Hashem that nothing was done with Amnon, I don't know. But you can't take the law into your hands and decide that you're going to kill him. So Avshalom, who thought he was the hero of the chapter, okay, we see the negativity about him, and he feels that he did the wrong thing because he flees for his life. We'll continue at this point in Yirtzeh Hashem tomorrow.